Good morning, everyone. It's Pete Hogg here. I'm hoping you can all hear me. I've been assured that you can, so we'll push on. A couple of quick administrative things. If you do want to ask a question, there's an icon, the little hand, where you can put your hand up on there, and then I've been advised that once you do that, we'll unmute you, and then you can ask a question to myself or to anyone in the change team just about the content or the presentation. So please work with that and we'll see how we go. So I'll get started. Today we're working through, this is the Q&A session for the Single Advice Business engagement sessions. This is the second pack. You should have presented the first pack, or your RMs may have presented the first pack over the last month. And this goes into further detail about some of the changes and some of the things that are happening as part of Single Advice Business. Really what we're trying to achieve out of this webinar is to give you a chance to ask some questions about the pack itself, because it is quite a big pack with a lot of information. And what we want to do is get some consistency in terms of what's been delivered across the network as well. As we go through today, I might start by giving you a quick run through of the key messages, some minor amendments to the pack you might have received, and really just try and pull out some of the main objectives of the pack and what we're trying to deliver across the network. We've got an hour, but if we do need more time, I'm more than happy to facilitate that. And again, you've got the opportunity to talk through with your regional head, your regional manager about how you want to deliver this pack and the information that comes through. At the end, hopefully we've got some confidence in what's in the pack and maybe some ideas about how we might deliver it locally, because there might be some variations. You may want to deliver it over a couple of different sessions, and there might be some local messages that you might deliver it a little bit differently, but hopefully with a level of consistency across the group. That means we get the information across. So with that in mind, I might get started. Everyone okay with that? No questions there in Sydney? Okay, cool. We'll push ahead.
All
so
good.
I might start just with, all good. Okay. I might start. I'll just run through some key points in the pack, and I'm happy if anyone's got any questions on the way through, please press the little hand icon, and we'll come to those. So I'll just step through here. For those that aren't aware, over the last few years, we've done some work on storytelling. So the idea of the engagement packs is that we are telling a story here. We want to engage everyone in our teams to really think about how Single Advice Business and how some of the changes will actually operate in real life. And by using storytelling, that can really help us to understand that in a better way and really connect in that way. So you'll see that theme as we go through. If you look at the next slide, it really talks about, and for those who've done client engagement framework, we talk about the purpose of the workshop, what it's trying to achieve, what does it involve, and what we hope for everyone to gain out of it. So spend a bit of time just talking through that, really to set the scene with your team, and really to talk through what they're going to learn and what they're going to learn about in the future as well. A key part of the pack, and I think I'll certainly, with working with my RMs and my teams with this, is really focus on this slide. These are the key messages that should come away from the workshop. So at the end of the workshop, we really want people to be taking these away and understanding, there's 6 things on this page, but these are the real key messages we want everyone to walk away from. You can see there, just as an example, talking about ongoing relationships with their planners in a couple of different ways, either through an ad hoc advice relationship or through ongoing advice with structured review service, or alternatively, clients can see planners for one-off advice with no ongoing relationship. So again, take some time to read through those. They're the key things we want everyone to walk away from these sessions with those front of mind. I'll just pause for a second if there's any questions on that.
No question.
Okay, I'll keep going ahead then. So again, really spend some time reading that page and spend a few minutes with your team just talking through those. And I was even thinking in terms of that presentation, you might even want to come back to that at different times through the presentation or at the end, just to make sure that they're really confident that that's what's been taken away. I'm just going to jump through quickly here. Before we really get into detail, we want to talk about the new land and what the future looks like. So we want to be looking forward with this presentation and getting people really in that mindset of the future and where we're trying to get to. And the next couple of slides really help with that, I believe, and can help get everyone thinking about the journey we're about to go on and really where we're aspiring to get to over the next few years. This slide here and the speaker notes down the bottom here can be really helpful to understand what we're trying to get out of this slide. And again, I'd spend a good amount of time on this with your teams and really talking through it. If you look here, there's for those that like pictures, the middle part here, it's talking about where we are now. Now, there's still a lot of uncertainty. We're not going to start with a perfect model, but we are moving towards, and we're on a journey towards, a really strong integrated single advice business. So one thing we can talk about with the teams, and one way you can approach it, is to start with the aspiration potentially. Talk through from an aspiration point of view where we're trying to get to. And then we can start to look back on that top where we go, well, okay, by year 3, we want to try and get to this point. But then initially, this is where we're starting from. Okay, so and actually start to paint a picture of and set some expectations with the teams actually to where we think we'll be over the next few years and where we think we'll start. Importantly, we need to position the message that go live or day one is the start of integration. It's not the end. And so we need to be really strong with that message that that's when we can really start to integrate. We're not going to be perfect day one, and we probably never will be perfect, but really starting with that message that that's the starting point for integration, not the end. And the next 12 weeks is about us getting to a point where we can start. So this slide's really important to be getting comfortable with, talking with your teams about, and really positioning the whole presentation around, this imagery here. Another thing I'll call out with this slide is the bottom section, the how. Now, this might be a little bit controversial in some sense, but what it's trying to show is that, look, we've got a long history in both businesses of putting our clients at the top and the centre of what we do, supporting our people and having good systems and processes. Over the last few years, as we've moved through different challenges and transformations, some of that's been turned around on us. Probably feels like it's been flipped around at times. But ultimately, we want to get to a point where our clients do drive what we do, and we want our planners and our CSOs to spend more time with clients and less time on things like systems and processes. That's an aspiration for us. We need to move towards that, and we're not there yet. But it's calling that out as well, that's a really important focus for us over the next few years. Is there any questions on any of that?
No question. Hello? No question.
Okay, thank you. This is a really busy slide. I don't think Sally's in the room, but it looks like a bit of a Sally Mannion slide. But when you look at it, again, this is expanding out from the previous slide, really setting the scene and talking a bit more detail about the now or post-transition, the medium term and the longer term vision. And again, I think this will help to really set the scene for the teams about what's to come, where we start and where we're trying to get to. I think there's some really good information here and some really good detail to spend some time to talk through with your teams. Make sure, read the speaker notes. There's some great information in there for you to be really comfortable with presenting this slide to the teams as well. So I'll keep moving forward from there. We then get into a little bit more detail about the advice model. Key differences here that I will call out, and I mentioned a little bit earlier. The introduction of a new advice model that actually allows for client relationship where it's not an ongoing or life advice model. It's an introduction of an ad hoc advice relationship, more driven by client need and not set up with our standard, in a Estate Plus world life advice model or ORS model. And this is a new offer that we're offering out to our clients. So that's a really key point to introduce. You can see some of the labelling of the names are slightly different, and we're working on some of the naming conventions for that, and things like life advice are not on that slide because we're working on some of the namings for that. Importantly, below that, reintroducing and bringing forth the segmentation that we do with clients to actually understand the right model for them. Then talking through choice of channel, which can be, we can deliver any of those advice services through face-to-face or phone, and that can be all those different advice models. Again, bringing back in planner segmentation, the grow and run model, which we need to talk more about. It's introducing that concept, but talk more about what that means from a planner point of view. I'm sure there's going to be some questions on that. And then having the hub and the client service centre from the hub, and also the SAT team from a First State Super point of view as well. We've also got a digital channel that needs to be built out. So there's a lot on that slide. Probably the key calling out from there is this introduction of having ad hoc advice relationships where it's driven by client need, but that doesn't mean we don't have a relationship with clients.
Sorry, Pete, we've got one question from Sally. She's asking about previous slide, what's NRD?
Say it again, sorry. Yes, I can.
Yeah, Sally's got one question about previous slide, what's NRD?
What's an RD? What slide number was that?
I'll just unmute her. I'll just let her speak. Just hold on.
Yep.
Hey, Pete.
Oh, Sally, would you like to speak? I've just unmute you. Hello?
Hi, it's slide 8, Pete. It's and it's in the speaker notes. It's talking about NRD. Get up to 10 years from NRD.
Notional retirement date, I believe, but let me just check.
And what's that?
I'll confirm that for you, Sally, but I think that's to do with the retirement date, but I'll confirm that with you. Yeah, I'll confirm it with everyone, obviously. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll keep moving through. And this is part of setting the scene as well. Really important. This as to that last slide, we were talking about this ad hoc relationship. This is our big opportunity as a single advice business. But it's importantly that it actually is about creating a bigger target market, not actually cannibalising our life advice market. So that's something good to talk through with the teams. Again, this is a really interesting time for us to be thinking about furthering our advice offer and this concept of an ad hoc advice relationship as opposed to life or event. We've got a new offering in the middle there. So this is a good slide to talk to that as well. Talk about our target market here. Our current target market is over 55 pre-retiree. But that doesn't mean necessarily that we can't help anyone outside of that, and that's our current market. And you'll see in some of the examples that where advice can add value, we certainly will offer a service to clients and members there as well. So we then move into the case studies from there. And again, I might just pause there. So give the chance for anyone to ask any questions from the first 12 slides.
No question.
No question? Okay, we'll keep moving through. So the next slide here talks about service offer. Again, this is fairly, hopefully it's fairly straightforward, but it talks about the pre-retirement offer and the post-retirement offer, and particular difference there. Again, there's a little bit of language change and different things like that. Post-retirement life advice and ongoing review service is offered. Pre-retirement it isn't. It's a one-off or an ad hoc advice relationship, so it's a key one to call out. We're still offering intra-fund type advice or max super type advice, and I think this has been called out previously. And obviously we've got the specialist insurance and aged care advice, and then it's colour-coded with your client fee and no client fee down the bottom as well. Again, this should have been called out previously, but just to remind everyone. This extends the conversation we're just having, or me talking, around the ability for clients to, a new offer, new advice offer in terms of having event advice or, ad hoc event advice relationship where they might come in and out of ongoing advice or in and out of paying event fees. And this is just to show that in a slide how clients can go on different journeys over time. Importantly, that should be driven by client segmentation as well. That should help guide us to those outcomes. So hopefully this demonstrates that to your teams as well.
Sorry, Pete, we've got one person asking questions.
Okay.
Richard. Richard, would you like to speak? Hello? Oh, he's asking, is there any sort of referral recognition for planners referring to insurance specialist? That's from Catherine.
Yeah, okay, good question. I'll take, at this stage, my understanding is no, but I'll take that offline to confirm.
I can confirm. So, hi everyone, it's Tony. Been a little bit involved in this. For the first phase of the insurance model, there won't be any referral recognition when it goes to any specialist at this stage. Could happen in the future, but not in the first phase.
Thanks, Tony. Any other questions?
Richard, do you still want to speak?
Okay, I might keep pushing ahead, but again, if anyone wants to ask a question, just press the hand button.
Or they can put question on the question box. They can type it in.
Okay, cool. Yep, very good. Okay, so next slide is just a reminder of our event fee framework. We can see there the guiding principles behind that. I understand there's some more assistance in terms of determining these fees now available. It's not in this slide pack, but I know it is available. But this is just a reminder, we've all seen these before, hopefully. And so this gives us indication of the fee model. And we've got 2 case studies that are actually part of this pack. One is for Jack, and some of you may remember from segmentation in times gone past, Jack is part of our segmentation model. His face is very familiar. Jack's a pre-retiree, first state super accumulation member, not receiving advice at this stage, receives event advice, and then chooses to become an ad hoc advice relationship client. And then in a little bit of a different case study, we've got Margaret, who is a retiree, is an existing RRS client, First State Super. So we're trying to give a couple of different examples here and highlight some of the different models that are available to clients under our new single advice business. So the first case study is Jack, and again, I'm probably not going to go into too much detail here. And again, there's a lot of good notes here, and I've got a lot of good present information here to work through. Talks through his financial situation, talks about his segmentation profile. Also, you'll notice an insurance need here as well. So hopefully we're getting a few things through here around segmentation and also opportunities that might come out of a prospective client like this. We then step through the options for Jack. We can see here he's a non-advised client. There's also an opportunity for event advice here, and we may be able to also extend the service offer to insurance. So it's about just talking through that with your teams. And then actually steps through the advice journey for Jack. And again, it's just need to take some time to work through and get really comfortable with it. But actually in detail, step 1, the detail behind it, the systems we would use to do that, who would be using those systems, CSO or planner, and then also the referral step as well. And again, this is just working through in quite a bit of detail as to the advice journey for Jack. Again, quite a busy slide, but calls out some key things here around. So Jack would like to receive advice when he feels he needs it, and so an ad hoc advice relationship should be positioned with someone like Jack. And then that means he remains in contact with his planner, and there's opportunities in the future for further advice on an agreed fee, depending on the time and complexity. Again, also calls out the importance of opportunity management for that as well, for these type of clients. Another call out here is a change to the APL, so there'll be an extended product list available to help both pre and post-retirement advice situations. So we'll call that out as well. That's really important across the board. And then this talks through from. We've got a question there?
We've got 2 questions here. First is this case study refers to a ATD, which is new of State Plus, different to ATP.
This is from Sally. Oh yeah, I'll confirm what ATD stands for. Yeah, I'll have to confirm that unless there's someone in the room in Sydney that knows what ATD is.
Yeah. Yep, on mute.
Authority to deduct, is it?
And another question is referring to slide 10. With ad hoc advice relationship, are we only going to be relying on the members to drive future advice need, or are we in a position to drive member needs through contact without contributing the view of it being perceived as an ongoing relationship? This is from Richard.
Yes, no, that's a really good question. Yeah. So I'll yeah, sorry.
Ad hoc relationship agreement is member driven, not office driven. Okay, so we need to. It's a very good question and one that's coming up often. We need to distinguish that where clients are positioned as ad hoc, that it's when they feel that there's a service that needs to be required. Okay, not when the regional office should be diarising them to get in each year. Okay, so we'll do a little bit more coaching on that and a bit more support, but that's the main process of what the ad hoc service is about.
Could related? Could that, Pete or Tony, you can hear me?
Question, from Catherine. For client that wants ad hoc advice, does the relationship remain on CRM?
Yeah, so my understanding is that
Yes.
that it would,
The answer
as
is
it
yes.
does now. Yeah, as it does now.
With an ad hoc advice relationship, can the planner contact the client, or is it reliant on the client contacting the planner? And if so, what happens if they do not contact us? Do we still charge them?
I think Tony spoke to that in most part.
Here's why a pre-retired person cannot go on a life advice agreement, considering many have to complex ongoing advice need.
Okay, so I might answer the first question first. Tony answered that in part, I think. We won't be charging clients if we're not giving advice. So even if there's an agreed follow-up or an agreed time, we're not going to just charge the clients for that. Again, there might be times where we agree to follow a client up at a certain point in time, but we'll do some more coaching on how that process works and the best way to manage that. So that's that question. And the second question, sorry, what was the second question again?
Second question. So why a pre-retired person cannot go on a life advice agreement, considering many have a complex ongoing advice need?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, look, that's something that obviously has been debated. There's a couple of different reasons for that. One is around deductions of fees. Again, the decision was made that as a starting point, and this may not be where we end up over the years, but as a starting point, life advice would be for retirees and not pre-retirees. But yeah, I'm happy to get some more clarification exactly on the key reasons behind that. But yeah, that certainly is correct in the understanding there. Yeah.
Sorry, one more question. It's from David. Where will planners be in relation to intra-fund advice? Where a client attends a meeting, will that result in event-based fee, or would it be no charge? This is really the definition of intra-fund and event-based. Example is for First State Super members seeking advice on accumulation fund. Will that also apply to STC member?
Yeah, so the current STC member that, as we do now with Max Super type advice for an STC member, we would expect that generally there'd be that's a no fee outcome. I know that First State Super planners do intra-fund advice for First State Super members where it is purely within the intra-fund scope. And yes, we need to clearly define what's intra-fund advice and then what steps outside of that, so that we know that when a fee arrangement is applicable versus just intra-fund. But yeah, but it's very similar to what we do now. From a State Plus point of view, our State Plus defined benefit scheme members that come in for Max Super, no SOA advice, or some types of Max Super advice, and for First State Super members that get First State Super financial planning intra-fund type advice, that will continue. Does that answer the question?
Yep. That's all.
Okay, are we okay to keep going? Yep.
Yes.
I'll keep going. Yeah. Okay, let me just find where we were. Okay, so the second case study is in relation to Margaret, and so she's an existing ORS retiree. So obviously this cohort of clients we have to think about a little bit differently. And one thing I will call out just straight away, there's been a slight revision in the thinking around the grandfathering of ORS clients. And as I understand it, Beck will resend out a pack after today's session just to make sure we've all got exactly the same slides on this. So all ORS clients will be grandfathered at the standard ORS fee rate of either $1,980 or $2,750 per annum. No ORS clients will be or can be moved to life advice, even where they meet the business rules. And that's to provide a bit of consistency. So, for example, if moving to a FIP and they will have more than $200,000, they will still pay a flat dollar ORS fee from the FIP via a manual deduction. Okay, so it's a slight change to the previous pack and just confirming that, and Beck will send that in a pack very soon after this. Does that make sense to everyone, or anyone got any questions around that?
For how long?
For how long?
Oh, that's
I'll confirm. I got this information yesterday afternoon. I believe it's 12 months from then, but I will confirm.
And then be able to move to life advice after that 12 months.
Yeah, and then be able to move to life advice after that, but I'll just need to confirm the timing for that. I believe it's 12 months. Any other questions?
The issue with when or how long
Sorry, whoever's speaking, I can't quite hear you, so I imagine most people can't either.
So hopefully in the next 12 months, but I'll get some more clarification on factors around that. But that's really my understanding of what the issue is. Because what we don't want is clients going on to a lower fee with life advice, and then when the fee floor comes in, their fee will go back up. Great customer experience, client experience. So that's what's feeding into that point.
Yeah, I think that was you, Beck, but it was pretty hard to hear. So we might just confirm via email afterwards if with everyone when we send the pack back out, just to be 100% sure of that, because I couldn't quite hear you. We good to keep going?
Yes, please.
Okay. So stepping through the case study for Margaret, so I'll just move back there. So again, thinking about the segmentation model to start off with here, Margaret wants to feel secure in retirement and be in contact regularly with her financial planner to give peace of mind. Her financial summary is there. She's currently in a retirement income stream, and these are some of the sort of key drivers for someone like Margaret. So it's good to remind everyone and keep everyone thinking from a segmentation point of view here. If we step through the options for Margaret, she's post-retirement, so she's got the option, and again, she's currently an ORS client. She's got the option, obviously, of a once-off and ad hoc advice relationship, or an ongoing review service / life advice type relationship, or any specialist advice. We can see down here on the left-hand side, there is an exception here with her situation because she's an existing ORS client as well, which we just spoke about. So here's an example of the ORS transition. So she's currently paying the ongoing advice fee of $1,980 per annum, which means that she'll remain on that as part of the transition arrangements. And this just talks about this a little bit further in a bit more detail, and it says quite a bit of detail here around how that works. You can see here we still have to use Xplan to generate the SOA and to manage the fee side of it as well. So I'm sure that'll cause quite a few questions, and with all that detail, obviously, you might get a few questions from the team, which is good. And I think that's the sort of stuff that we want to get out and clarify where we can. Again, if you need to clarify some things prior, please make sure that you're asking the question of your regional head and also the change team, just so make sure we are fully across all the details here. If I keep walking through the next part, and our next part, for some of the language here might be a little bit different, but we can certainly still work through this with our teams, I believe. Those that have done client engagement, you would notice the PPP here. The idea here is for us to start to think about the type of clients that we might see, and particularly in the cases of Jack and Margaret, you know, what that meeting might look like, what the process of the meeting will look like, and what how we can actually get benefit to the client out of that. It's really to get our minds into that space. And this is a really good chance to do some workshopping with your team. You might have been speaking to them for an hour or so up into here, or even a bit longer, a chance for the team to start to get involved in this. And you can have a think about whether you split into groups or what way you want to approach this. So we do this activity for Jack and Margaret in their upcoming meetings, and actually just work through this as a group. Also, from a CSO point of view, thinking about the calls to the clients to book appointments, and thinking about how that will actually work. What sort of things would we say? How would we position? And thinking in the context of the purpose, process, and payoff of that. And here's some of the things that we can do. We can prepare a list for the calls prior, in terms of positioning the advice model, the value proposition, and the fee conversations. And again, this is a really good chance for your teams to start to think about single advice business and how we'll do things from a client point of view. So anticipating the questions and concerns clients might have, and then maybe preparing some answers to those questions. And this is all, again, for those that haven't done the engagement framework, this is really some of the key things, is thinking about putting ourselves in the client's shoes and converting some of the questions you think a client might have and actually being prepared for that in the meeting. And again, this calls out some of the client concerns that Jack might have, and there might be concerns about how he pays for advice going forward. He might want to understand how it's calculated. We should all be thinking about how we are going to respond to those, knowing we're probably going to get those questions. So this is a chance for us to work through that with our teams. Any questions before I move on?
How is it calculated?
I've got a question. I'm in Tamworth here with Cam. Cam just asked, how is it calculated? And as I mentioned earlier, there's a few examples that we should share. I think they might even be on the wiki, but I think we need to just confirm that to talk about how you detail out the different fee options and how they've come about, and some examples of when they could be used. But that's a really good question from Cam, and I'm sure others got that question. So we'll seek to get some more information out about that. Any other questions from the group?
No question.
So as you can see, there's quite a bit of content in this pack, so it will take some time, and there's just a few more slides to go. So the next part then talks about office moves, which in some areas will be more more interesting than others. So if I just step through, just to set the scene a bit here, it talks about the engagement process through to support, some of the business readiness activities that need to happen, things happening pre and post go live, and just giving a bit of context around that for you and your teams. and that should set the scene for that. And then we move in to the office moves group activity. Now, in terms of how you want to do this, this is really there's a guide here. Now, it'd be great to get some feedback from the network about some of the outcomes you do get from this group activity. But really, that is for you as a group and as a team to be working through and thinking about. There's no set requirement to send back a list of outcomes, but if there's some really good feedback that comes out of it, good, bad, or ugly, or whatever, please make sure you do share that back with your regional head and back with the team as well, so that we can start to incorporate that across the business and really understand where the challenges are or the opportunities as well. But this is a real chance to talk through that, and it's particularly going to be interesting how the teams look at that, where we've got areas where we're going to have quite significant office moves as well. So this is really important to start talking through that with your teams. So really, really good to hear some feedback from that if we can after you do those sessions. And then just finally, there's an appendix at the end, just for you to refer to as you need. Just a segmentation overview. And again, for people that have been from a First State Super financial planning context, they may not have seen some of this before, but certainly a lot of State Plus people should have seen it, and our different segmentation types, and really getting this back on the radar for our teams and referencing this in all that conversations about advice models and fees and different things like that, really connecting that up with our segmentation model, because I think that's a really important shift that we need to make in the next little while. So that's all I've got to say. I've spoken for most of that hour. I will open this up now for questions or any ideas or thoughts about how you might deliver, whether it be done in one straight line or whether it be done in different sessions or breaking up your teams. I'd love to hear some thoughts from the group if anyone's got any there or any questions for myself or the team.
Yep, Joe's got one question. I'll just unmute him. Yep, can you speak up, Joe?
Yep.
Yep. Hi, Pete. How are you?
Good, Joe.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, good, mate.
Hello, can you hear me?
Just a quick question. Yep, all good. On the two case studies, you mentioned maximising super advice being delivered by CSOs. Are you able to elaborate more on that?
If I did, that's incorrect. No, that'll be done by planners. Apologies if I did.
Okay, just more on that slide.
Yep. I think I know what you're talking about. Let me go back.
I'm presuming it's just through maybe the SAT area or somebody providing intra-fund advice, but it is showing in the CSOs providing maximising super advice.
What slide was that, Jack?
Yeah.
Page 25, I think, is, and 19.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have a talk to the change team just about clarifying that slide a bit more. Yeah. Because as I understand it, I don't think we're expecting CSOs to give max super advice. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for calling it out.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No. That's all, Joe.
Any other thoughts on how you might deliver the presentation?
And one more question.
Yep.
When will we get more details on the office move? What's the date?
So, 14th May, so all the consultations for the office dates happen in line with the regional office consultations that are starting on the 14th of May. So after that time, everybody will be briefed on what the office layouts will look like. But that won't necessarily mean that the blending of the offices will happen at that time either. So I think that's going to be a bit of it'll happen for integration, but first the conversations will happen from the 14th of May around what each of the regional offices will look like in terms of numbers, staff numbers, those sort of things.
Thanks, Tony.
And one more question. What are the leaders' days on slide 35?
Let me have a look. 35. So I believe these refer to, and I'm happy for anyone else to clarify, we have RM days we've had some in March, we've had some in April, and we've got some planned in May and going forward. Is that what that relates to? I'm pretty confident that is.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep, that's correct. Okay. Yeah, so they're the RM days for our RMs. So yeah, I'll put it out again just one last time. Is there anyone had a thought about how they might deliver this, or in what format, and that sort of thing? Anyone brave enough to put their hand up for that?
No.
No one's brave on Wednesday. No, that's okay, guys. I think I'm hoping that it's giving you a bit of a starting point to think about how you might deliver this and some of the content in there. I know there are a few more questions, and hopefully we can clarify a couple of those things that came out before you present to your teams. I will just refer you back right up the top. Remember the key messages that we're trying to deliver out of this, and when you're preparing for the presentation, preparing to deliver to your teams, have these in mind. And again, we want our teams to walk away with anything. It's certainly the messages here, and reminding everyone that integration really starts after go live. We'll all work on this together. We certainly won't be perfect day one, and it will take time for us to really get this working. And over the next few months, what we really need to do is get to a point where we're ready to go live, and then really start to explore the benefits, build on our systems, build on our processes, and that's where the real opportunity to integrate comes. So just a reminder everyone to be thinking about that and positioning that with their teams as well. I'll just check as well. Any other thoughts or comments from Tony or anyone else in Sydney there?
Okay, great.
All good.
Actually,
All good. Okay.
For the RMs on the call, we're going to be spending a little bit more deeper time at this at the RM day in 2 weeks' time, where we're going to workshop some of this out as well. So, and I know each of the RHs are involved in that with each of you. So there's a bit more deeper information coming as well.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. And the other thing to remember is that we've got till the 10th of May to deliver this in its entirety. So we do have a bit of time to really get a good understanding of it and clarify any questions. And as Tony mentioned, there's time also if you feel you need more detail, that we'll be going through that with the RMs on the RM days in April. So thanks, Tony. And on that, I'll give you an extra 10 minutes. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Any questions, please feed them back and through your regional head as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Great. Well done.